All right, so we are live. There's a lot I want to discuss today. Mostly, I want to talk about like podcasting and podcasting for business, but it feels really good to be like back live. I'm trying to live stream as much as possible because like the more I go live on this, I also get to upload like podcast form, which means like there's a lot of content I'm able to do. Just from like this one video. I just have to upload the audio. Like it's a pretty good, but also I just really like this form of content and just like this form of going. So I'm trying to go live as much as possible. But really, like with today's whole like the reason I'm going live right now is because I want to talk about like really doing podcasting as like a business model and really how that goes. So for those that don't know and like haven't even like heard my podcast before, I use a platform called Anchor to distribute my whole podcast. And through Anchor, they have this thing called Anchor Ads. And obviously, if you're listening to this podcast form, you just heard a whole basically like sales pitch for Anchor. So I'm not really going to go into like all the details just because of that. But basically, they do like, I have the sponsorships turned on. They find sponsors for me. I play those in my podcast. I basically get paid around 1 cent for every listener. At least, that's how it like seems to be so far with the two podcasts that I have. And like with that, I was doing some math and I'm pretty sure the I mean, like this is probably like I'm pretty sure like a salary of around 30K would be kind of the lowest someone could make and still basically be able to like have that last them like a full year. Like 30K a year, I feel like is probably like a good like base salary for employment, like the lowest possible like metric. Especially like if you have like kids and everything. So like if a salary of around like $30,000, you basically need 10,000 listeners every single day on your podcast to actually make about 30,000 a year, which sounds difficult. Like 10,000 like individual people every single day listen to your podcast. But also like if you have a daily podcast, that's really not that too. Like that's really not that bad. And also, that's just one way to make revenue from podcasting. So if you only wanted to do advertising, you could have 10,000 listeners a day and you'd make around 30,000 a year. But if you like that's doing like Anchor ads, which I have, which is like 1 cent per listener. But there's also a lot of other ways to monetize a podcast. One, you go find sponsorships yourself, but also like another like way, like through the Anchor platform, is by I personally like I have two podcasts with Anchor, and I don't have this turned on for either one just because it's something that like I've considered, but I don't really think would be some like I don't really know if I'm gonna do it or not. Basically, they have this thing called I don't remember exactly what it's called, but basically you turn it on the podcast, and when people subscribe, they can like choose if they want to basically pledge a certain amount each month so that they can donate. Like if let's say you listen to a podcast, you really like the podcast, you can basically set up where like $5 every month will be given to the person that's doing the podcast just because you like it so much. And that's something that like I've considered turning on because like I'm eligible for it, and I've considered like turning it on, like trying to collect like donations over time. But I really feel like I don't know. That's just something that I don't really know if I want to do. Like I don't really know if I want to like go out there and like try to get actual dollars from the people that listen to my content. Like yes, I have like donations on Store for Business, and obviously like I try to get money from the people that listen to my podcast through like affiliate marketing and stuff like that. But I feel like that's different because they're actually getting like a product slash service from it. And what I mean by that is like they're actually buying and receiving something. Just having or like just having like working set up and they can like donate to the donate to the actual podcast is something that I'm definitely considering, but it's probably not something I'll turn on for a while. But that's just like another way you can actually make money through podcasting. And if you're actually going out there and trying to get your like 10,000 listeners per day, to make the 30,000 a year just on like advertising, then everything else after that is extra. Like you can also go out turn on and like start collecting like sponsorships. You can also go out and like find, a different like affiliate marketing, or also just sell sponsorships yourself. And honestly, 10,000 viewers every like single day, like 70,000 a week, that's actually a lot of people to market to. And if you're going out there and finding sponsorships, or just, trying to do affiliate marketing yourself, you have a lot of people to market to. And like the revenue expectations that you could set out for yourself, like they're honestly huge. Like there's so much money you can make from it. And I don't know, I find that really interesting. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. So right now I have the CWT Business Audio Show, which is, a business, like it's basically a podcast where like I talk about like what's going on in the business world, and really like my business experience. Like basically how the podcast works is that like every single like episode is just like, different progress and like, my business life with like different stuff I'm working on, different projects that I have. And that's really what that podcast is all about. And then I have CWT Live, which is this but in audio form. So basically every time I go live on YouTube, I then go and I take the audio from it and upload it to a podcast. And I have both of these podcasts, working, like they're doing different things, but both in like they're basically both centered around business, but like, in different ways. So, I have both those like different channels, and both of them are monetized. They both have ads going like through Anchor. So if I can get, a total of 10,000 people to listen to at least one of these podcasts every single day, that's $30,000 every year. And then also like if you, like I do a lot of work in affiliate marketing. I have two affiliate marketing stores. And like obviously, like with the podcast, I do a lot of work that way, mostly with Store for Business right now. Basically, every episode, I like have that going, and I think that's going to be something that will be, especially as they get bigger, like extremely profitable. And then also, like if I ever decide to turn on, or if we can donate per month, like with 70,000 people, that's obviously a lot of, like assume something like 1%, like that's a lot of like money that's able to come in. But I think podcasting is really a very good business model. I really do. Like I think it's a very good way to make money. I think it's probably a hard way to make money because I feel like the market's pretty saturated right now, especially with platforms like Anchor coming out, which allows anyone to make a podcast. Even like I can make a podcast. And because it's so saturated, there's obviously, huge competition out there. But also like another benefit of doing podcasting as a business is the fact that there is a lot of people like getting into podcasts. Basically, the amount of people listening to podcasts is growing like every single year. And the fact that it's such an expanding market means you have more and more potential customers like coming in. So I really do think podcasting can can be something. It's going to take a lot of work, but can be something that makes a lot of money like in the future, hopefully pretty soon. And then like I have that, and I also have my blog, which is like by far my biggest platform out there, and YouTube, which is by far my smallest platform, but hopefully will become bigger. And like I have all these different like platforms that I'm trying to do marketing through. I'm creating content through, trying to connect with different audiences through. And it is a lot of work, like doing all this media, but it's work that I enjoy doing. Like ever since I was extremely little, like I was trying to like make content on different platforms as soon as they were made, really. And I don't know, it's just very interesting, like with this like business theme I'm going with, which is only because that's what I find interesting. Like I really think if you can do like media on basically anything you're actually passionate about. For me, it just happens with business. It's what I love, so I go out there and I do like all this work through it. And I think it's going to take a lot of work because my thing is I've been able to get a pretty large following on my blog. And also like, my blog is doing good with like Google searches and getting more popular. And my blog is something like I am very, very proud of. And it's by far my biggest platform. And then you have like the individual podcasts, which the CWT Business Audio Show is still a lot bigger than CWT Live. Like just looking at the podcasting numbers, but obviously CWT Business Audio Shows is something I've been doing for a while. But it's like like while they both are growing, they're growing a lot. Or really, I'll just put the CWT Business Audio Show as like under a thing because CWT Live is pretty new, so I don't really know much about like all that it's doing. But with CWT Business Audio Show, it's growing, but it's not growing nearly as fast as my blog is, which is interesting because I started them at like relatively the same time, and my blog has like way better numbers than my podcast like has at all. And I don't know if that's something that will continue or not, because really, I'm starting a new job and I also have, revenue coming in through the different media outlets. And my plan is to keep doing a lot of work like through social media on my blog, but start running like a bunch of different like Facebook ads for, my blog and my podcast. And once, I actually have like, money like advertising these, I do wonder which one's going to grow, like if it's going to keep being how it currently is, which like my blog, dominating like all my other platforms, or because I'm running like an equal amount of ads, getting it out there. If like my podcast do better, because my blog has the advantage of Google search results, while my podcast doesn't really. Like really, when you make a podcast, the marketing is way different than with any other platform, because really the way algorithms work, like if you want someone to listen to your podcast, you actually have to go market, or obviously you have to market all of them yourselves, but like with a podcast, basically all the listeners are going to be listeners that you like get yourself. Like you're going to go out there, putting the podcast on all your social medias, doing marketing for it, and actually getting that audience. Where with YouTube or like my blog, a lot of like Google search is responsible for a lot of the people that see it. And as long as you can have like titles like that, you have those people coming in. Where if a podcast, like if I make a new blog post, I put it out there, my following sees it, the people searching on Google see it. But with a podcast, it's really just like the following see it, and then the people I can reach through my social media. And that's like a big difference. I think why my blog has been able to grow so quickly, because my most popular articles on the blog are just ones that the Google search really liked. But when it comes to like podcasting and this like advertising strategy of going like through Facebook ads, I'm really hoping that I can get a lot of people to subscribe to the podcast. That way, I don't have to do so much marketing like individually for each episode. Is like the people that subscribe automatically see it, and I can kind of like start basically I can start having an idea of how much money each episode can make, because I don't have an idea of how many people are following, how many people like of those are listening to like each episode. And that way, like it'll be easier to also, go out for like sponsorships too, because I'll have like a way better like idea of how many people are going to listen to the episode that they sponsor. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see that whole business really take off. And I think CWT Media, is going to be something that I'm going to be able to do full time, probably in the next like 6 months to a year. I'm probably going to be able to do it full time. Right now I'm doing a ton of work with CWT Media, but also, most of the actual like money I make is going to be coming from like the new job I'm starting. But I do hope I can do CWT Media full time soon. But like really with it, like I'm planning for my podcast, like podcasting advertising to be responsible. Like I really want that to get to the point where it covers all of my expenses. And then, everything else, I want to, go out, like get sponsorships and affiliate marketing. I want that to be where most of the money comes in from, and, different like ideas that come. And then like, as those audience gets bigger, I'll be able to start creating like more products of my own through my company, CWT Business Development. Like with that right now, I do a lot of affiliate marketing through that, which I use like CWT Media kind of for. But also, I'm trying to make businesses of my own. Like I have a clothing brand, Divine Arrow, which is owned by CWT Business Development. And I really want to start doing startup investing. Like since the very beginning of everything that I've done, startup investing was always how I wanted to make majority of my money. And all the money I make from my media that like doesn't cover my expenses and that I immediately need, I'm going to try to invest into startups and get equity, and then use my media to actually grow them. As my content becomes more popular, it'll become easier and easier to get equity and actually make that equity basically insanely valuable. Startup investing is really how I plan to do, or to make basically all of my money like long term. And I think it's gonna be very interesting to do. Like actually, having basically finding small businesses that have like products that I think I can grow, investing into it, getting like a large percentage of the company, and then like through media like advertise those companies. And I mean, there's already a lot of companies that I have in mind that I want to put money into, like for startup investing, that I have like saved. Like I basically spend a lot of my time every week finding interesting companies that I think would really click with the audience that I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build I'm trying to build an audience of people that are passionate about business, investing, cryptocurrency, all those things. So, with that audience, if I can find a business that is searching for that audience, basically the audience that I have is their target market, I'll be able to use all my media to actually like grow those businesses and then make my equity more valuable. And that's always been my plan long term. And it will always continue to be so because I think actually making small businesses big ones is the most exciting thing in the entire world. All I have to do is get my like advertising revenue up first. And that's really what I'm working on right now is getting my advertising revenue up and finding new sponsors for like my blog and like podcasts. And if I can do that, if I can do it well and keep that growing and actually like in the next 6 months do CWT Media full time, I would basically be able to focus purely on like what my dream has been forever. Like it's always been content creation. It's always been startup investing. And I'm really excited to see all that become more and more reality. I still have a long ways to go before I'm doing all of that. But I do feel like, with the progress that I'm making, with the money that I'm currently making, I feel like I am insanely close to that goal or insanely closer to that goal than, I was like a few years ago. And that's really exciting. That's really all for this episode of CWT Live. It's been fun it's been fun talking to everybody. Hopefully this thing gets a lot of viewers. If I'm also uploading it to like a podcast as well. So thank you to everyone who's listening or like and who will listen to this when it's not live. And that's all. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, all that stuff, and yeah.